So I got my good friend here, Steve Daly. We do a lot of boating together, but he's a very successful businessman. He's a general manager at Annapolis, BMW and Mini. And so I just wanted him to come to the podcast because, I'm doing the personal development and business coaching. And I think this will be a very inspirational podcast. So I just want to say thanks for coming in. And oh, by the way, he's got 3 boys, 2 stepdaughters, and a really young granddaughter. Just happened. So congratulations on that.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks for having me, and Yvonne too. So I had my first grandchild was born. I guess she's a week old yesterday, so she's 8 days old now.
The grandchildren, they're awesome. We have 4 now, so it's crazy.
I'm really looking forward to spending a lot of time with her and bonding. I have some regrets about my own children that as far as the business world goes, they have to make some sacrifices, and I feel like I made possibly too many sacrifices in raising my children, where I missed, the Little League games and the Cub Scouts and the school plays, because I was always working. I was always concerned about financially providing for them, and that came first and foremost.
Yeah.
And I missed out on a lot of things, and I have regrets about that to some degree.
Sure.
I'm not saying that I would change it if I had to do over again, but I feel like I missed out. So I think the second time around with the grandchildren will be my opportunity
definitely
to not miss out.
Yeah, we're going to dive into that too.
Okay.
But yeah, I want to go back to the beginning. I want to get some background. Like, did you grow up in this area?
Sure.
I want to know all about you.
Okay. Well, I'm the product of my father was a military man, so he's actually a West Point graduate. He graduated in 1956 from West Point. He was from Brooklyn, New York. He was an interesting tidbit. He was Norman Schwarzkopf's roommate in West Point in his freshman year. So
that's
Storm
crazy.
and Norman, my dad called him. So he did a full career in the United States Army. When he graduated from West Point in 1956, he was sent to Korea. This was post-war Korea. He served two years there, but then the Army sent him to Germany. And he was in northern Germany, and that's where he met the young, pretty German girl, blonde hair and blue eyes, and fell in love. And
that's where you get your looks from, right?
And they got married in 1960, I think, in Germany, and had a baby 10 months after. My oldest brother was born 10 months after they got married. And they got stationed back in the United States, and they produced 2 more children. That would be my other brother and myself. So they created 3 boys, normal middle-class family, and father's the military officer, and it's in the early 60s now. I was born in December of 64. But then, of course, the Vietnam War came around. So the Army sent him to Vietnam to fight over there, and he did that from, I think, 66 to 67 or 67 to 68, I think. So my mother was at home alone here in Prince George's County, where I grew up. I was born on Andrews Air Force Base.
So you were in this area the whole time,
I was in this area from when I was born, until in end of 64, until 1968, I guess, or 1967. He came back from Vietnam, and they sent us to Indianapolis. So we lived in Indianapolis for a couple of years, I think, 67, 68. And then they sent us to Korea. So I lived in Korea for 2 years after that, from 69 through 71, we lived in Korea. So it was elementary school, kindergarten and first grade. It's very strange being a redhead. I had flaming orange hair when I was a child. My father's Irish descent, so I had flaming red hair. And we would go off base in Korea, and some of the Korean people had never seen red hair in their lives, right?
Oh,
They don't know what red hair is. Everybody's got black hair in Korea. You're
Yeah,
Korean,
exactly.
you got black hair. So there's this, 5-year-old, 6-year-old little kid, and he's got flaming orange hair, and they would all want to touch me, right? They just want to come up and put their hands on me and touch my hair. And, I'm like a little kid. I'm like scared. But Mom, what are they doing?
Yeah.
So anyway,
That's awesome.
we spent a couple of years in Korea, so got some culture, learning other societies and the culture in other societies. Very interesting. You don't realize it then, I think, but later on in life, you realize how that enriches you in terms of your culture and you understanding other societies and other ways of life besides just being here.
Yeah, exactly. Was the language barrier hard?
Well, we lived on an army base.
Okay,
So we were in Seoul.
Okay.
And we lived on the army base in Seoul. So I went to a school with other American kids, soldiers, children. But that was no big deal. So the Army then sent him back to back here. So we went back to the same house that I was born in. They had just rented that house out while we had moved away for the 2 years in Indiana and 2 years in Korea. Came back to that house and we lived there. I started second grade, I think, and a year later, the Army then sent him back to Vietnam. So he went back to Vietnam in 1972 to 1973, I guess it was. So my mother, again, is home alone with the 3 kids. Now we're ages, 8, 10, and 11 or something like that.
Probably lots of energy.
Yeah, but my mom she's a strong woman. Good German strong woman. Yeah. Of course, it didn't work because she's the officer's wife, whatever. You weren't in the 50s and 60s, and you didn't really work. The father went out, and it sounds a little stereotypical or sexist.
That's the way it was back
but
then.
it's just how it was.
Yeah.
Correct. So, but when my father came back from Vietnam in 1973, he was a changed person. The person who left and the person who came back weren't even remotely the same.
That war, I think, did a lot of people like that.
Did a lot of people damage, I think. And it's a shame because I think it wasn't really recognized, They're just expected to assimilate back into society after experiencing the things they experienced and seeing the things that they've seen, the atrocities of war.
Yeah. So it was definitely hard for them to adapt.
Yeah. And so it didn't take long for the marriage to fall apart after that. He went off on his own and basically became a recluse for the rest of his life. He lived to be 80 years old. He died in 2010, I think. He was born in 1931, so he was maybe 79.
So you didn't really see him much at all, huh?
Spottily over the years, but occasionally, a call at Christmas time or on Father's Day, maybe, or a birthday or something like that, but had no real relationship with him anymore after that.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because, as a young person, he was perfectly normal, and we had a great normal family. But that war did something to him. So he went off on his own after that, and we never really heard from him as much. I mean, he cut off his own brothers and sisters, his family,
his whole family.
His whole family. Don't I stay in touch with his aunts and my cousins and stuff now because he was one of 4 children, and but he didn't speak to anybody ever again. Even when he died, the coroner thought he died of a heart attack in his house, but he'd been dead in there for maybe a month or 2 because nobody knew.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody's looking out for him. Nobody's reaching out to him. A neighbor finally said there's a stench coming out of this house.
Oh my gosh!
And called the police, and they did a wellness check and come in, and they find the guy in the bathroom floor and dead, and had been dead for quite a while apparently. So it's unfortunate, but it's it's life. It's what
It sounds like your mom's a really resilient woman. So
yeah, she has also passed. But she was. Yeah. So my mother. I mean, what a story of hers. I mean, you think that we've got something going on. My mother is an 8-year-old. She's German. She was born in what is modern day today Poland, but in 1936 it was part of Germany. The boundaries have since been redrawn after the war. So as the World War II was coming to a close in the winter, February of 1945, it was apparent that the Germans weren't going to win the war. The D-Day had already happened. The British were coming and the Americans were coming from the west, and the Russians were coming from the east. And if you were a German, you'd probably prefer to be captured by the Americans and the British than to get captured by the Russians. So as a family, my mom and her 2 brothers and the parents, my grandparents, along with thousands of other Germans, all began migrating westerly from the eastern side of Germany. It was a town called Stettin in Poland, but they walked about 1,000 kilometers, 600 miles through the winter of 1945, from February until about May, when they arrived on the other side of Berlin, to the west side of Berlin. That's obviously by the same time that Patton and Montgomery were getting there, and Joseph Stalin had already gotten to Berlin. So they settled in a little town called Lübeck. It's on the outskirts of Hamburg in northern Germany. And that's where she grew up then, from then on, from an 8-9-year-old little girl until she met my father in 1959, right? And the rest of the story already told there.
Yeah. She sounds like a really determined person.
Yeah,
though.
yeah. I mean, she instilled a tremendous work ethic in my brothers and I. Both of my brothers were very successful careers as well, and in very different arenas. My middle brother's an engineer. He worked a full career for mostly at NASA the last 25 or 30 years.
That's pretty cool.
As an engineer for NASA. Lives locally here too in Davidsonville. And my older brother is an entrepreneur. He's started his own automobile business, so he's in the car business too. And he runs a very successful operation, has been doing it for a lot of years as well.
So did your mom like push you guys, like when you were little, like, hey, you need to get a job, or
yeah? So now when they get divorced, my mother has never had a job, right? So she has to go out and get a job, right? Back then, she looked at the want ads in the Washington Post, and she gets a job for minimum wage working at Kmart, stocking shelves, making $2.85 an hour. And there wasn't much in terms, because my father retired from the Army then, right? So his military pay is cut in half from what it was, and then he's got to give some small portion for, I guess, alimony for a few years or something. So essentially we had a house, but we had no money.
Yeah.
So I had a place to live, but had no luxuries of life, no nice clothing, didn't eat in any nice restaurants, didn't take any vacations, really had nothing. Because my mother is now, she's working at Kmart for minimum wage, and she's trying to raise these 3 boys, and we're in, elementary school, junior high school, growing up to high school age teenagers. And there were certainly nothing of excess in our budget.
Exactly.
We have a roof over our head and we could eat. That was about it.
Honestly, and you're witnessing that. You're seeing your mom, get up every day, go to work, like you said, minimum wage, and just, getting after it. And,
and she did very well. I mean, so she went to work for Kmart, again, stocking shelves, but with her work ethic, it didn't take long before she was a department manager, and then a store manager, and then a regional manager with a car and everything else. So after 10 or 15 years of working there, she was in a large corporation in the United States. She had worked her way to the top of the food chain there.
That's awesome.
Because she's smart and she's got good work ethic, and it just shows that if you put your nose to the grindstone, you work hard every day and do what you're supposed to do, that you get rewarded for it eventually. Yeah. And so later on in life, after through high school and through college, she made more money and lived a more comfortable life than she had for those first years after the divorce, the first, say, 10 or 12 years after the divorce, where things were so tight financially for us.
Yeah.
I started delivering newspapers.
I was going to ask you about that.
Again, we had no money, and as a little kid, you want things. I want a bicycle, right?
Yeah.
I want a bicycle. My mother had any money to buy me a bicycle, so I fortunate enough that there was a guy in our neighborhood who had the newspaper route, and he didn't want to do it anymore. So I took over the Washington Post route in our neighborhood. And it's a 7-day-a-week job, and it's not. He's a 10-year-old, and the Washington Post is about this thick on Sunday mornings with all the sale ads and stuff.
You told me that was your hardest job.
It was. I'm telling you. I had to deliver like 100 newspapers every day, and I would stack that wagon till it was taller than me, and I dragged it up and down the hills in this neighborhood every single day and put the people's paper in there between the storm door and the front doors. If it was raining or windy, it didn't blow away. So you had to walk up to every single house and deliver these newspapers. And at the end of the month, you got to go collecting and all that. I think I made about $100 a month in round numbers is what it paid. But, I could then buy myself a bicycle, right?
Yeah.
And later on when I got older, I saved up for doing that for a while, and I bought a dirt bike because I always wanted a dirt bike, right? And I was riding around on that. When I turned 16, I went to work and I was always kind of a tinkerer, I'd take the lawnmower apart to see what makes it work kind of a guy, right? Or take the toaster apart and see how it functions. So I got a job. I've got a job first when I was 16 and washing dishes at an Elks Lodge, but that was short lived. I eventually, by the time I was 17, I think I was working at a gas station, pumping gas and putting on tires and oil changes and brakes and stuff like that through the rest of high school. And then graduated from high school, and the thing to do was go to college, right? So back in the early 80s, University of Maryland was a good school. And for an in-state student, it was affordable. I feel terrible for the kids these days that these college tuition loans that they have out. It's just outrageous. Put it in perspective, I was making minimum wage, and I could make enough money to pay for my own college tuition. In 1982, it was $452 a semester for a full-time student at University of Maryland. Now, I lived at home, so I didn't get to go enjoy the college life
Exactly.
that the kids get today, right? I didn't live on campus. I wasn't in a fraternity. I didn't participate. I mean, 4 years of going there, I think I went to one football game, maybe in one basketball game.
Yeah.
Because I worked. I worked 40 hours a week while I was a full-time student.
I'm sure that was difficult too. All the studying.
But
you
I
had to
could make
do.
enough money in each semester to save up to pay the next semester's tuition bill. The tuition was $450, and it usually was about $100 or so in books, right?
Yeah.
So for under $600, I get 15 credits and a semester of college in. And by the time I graduated, it was up to like $700 a semester or something like that. But the point is that working a minimum wage job, if you work 40 hours a week, you could make enough money to pay for a full-time student at a major university.
I have a question for you. Now that I know what you got your degree in, you could say, tell us what that was. But what made you even think of that degree?
Well, I probably would have gone the engineering route, but I don't think I was smart enough. So my other brother, my middle brother,
Did he have influence on you about that?
He was smart enough. He's just intelligent abnormally, right? So physics and calculus comes easy to him, right? It didn't come easy to me. I'm good at math, but the physics and the calculus and some of the stuff that they had, I would have really struggled with, particularly working a full-time job while I'm doing it. So the degree I got is called industrial technology. It's probably a step down from engineering, but it's more blue-collar oriented. It sort of prepares you for a career in the manufacturing and production world, where you would end up as a manager of some sort of plant or a factory that builds or makes something.
But you must have had some interest in that, though.
So I had some, so because again, working on cars, because that was always kind of a passion. The degree wasn't as, again, technically involved as engineering was, but it was sort of the blue collar side of an engineering type position.
Yeah. And you're basically using that degree today.
Yeah, because I had classes in economics and finance and business classes and all that stuff. So it prepared me for, I didn't know then, but ended up as a career in the automobile industry.
Yeah.
So it kind of played out. It's kind of all the pieces of the puzzle came together eventually. I
like the story you tell me when you first started out, like as a mechanic, and then how it evolved to where you're.
So I was a
now.
mechanic then, all through my days in college, and got through, graduated. It took me 4.5 years, so I didn't quite make it out in 4 years like I was supposed to, but it was tough. But I graduated in December of 1986. I graduated from the University of Maryland, a bachelor's degree. And on the personal side, back then, I was dating my girlfriend at that point. I'd been dating her since my freshman year in college. So I'd been dating for 4 years, basically. So after I graduated in December, in about a 9-month time window, I got engaged. We put a contract down to have a new home built, and we got married. So in October of 1987, I was married now. So
you like challenges, don't you?
As a newlywed. Well, again, because I stuck with the car business and then doing this, an entry level position in what kind of more traditionally had been with my college degree would have made significantly less money than I was making working on cars now. So I was getting paid real money as a 21-year-old. I was making. This is in 1986. I think I was making, near $50,000 a year.
That's pretty good.
Where, an entry level position was probably paying $25,000 or $30,000 a year. So bought a brand new house in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. I still remember the house was $102,000 and the mortgage payment was $1,000. So I could, and my wife worked for the federal government, and she made about half of what I made. But between the two of us, no children, we couldn't afford much. Again, I don't think I had curtains in my first house for probably 2 years. We had a bed sheet with thumbtacks on the front window of the house.
Exactly.
The furniture all came from the Penny Saver, or what would today be Facebook Marketplace, I guess. But and
that's what you have to do.
We didn't start a family for a couple of years, so we kind of got established and got settled. And then my oldest son was born in 1990, so I've been married for, I guess I was 25 at that point, and we've been married for about 3 years.
Okay.
He was born in November of 90. He's 34 now. He's the one who just had his first grandchild. He got married about 5 years ago, and they just had their first child.
That's awesome.
And so I'm now kind of stuck with because I'm straddled with debt, obviously, and a mortgage and a family. I just made the decision that I'm going to stick with the car business because it pays well. And what I liked about the automobile industry, it's one of those industries where the harder you work, the more money you can make. So I didn't want a job where I was just getting a salary and showing up to work and performing some function. And then no matter how hard I worked or how little I worked, I still got the same paycheck at the end of it.
Exactly.
I loved the idea of being rewarded for hard work and performance, right? So as a service advisor, the more repair work that I can process and sell, or as a mechanic, the more cars that I work on, I get paid more money.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. That's what I always love about sales.
Yeah,
You know,
it's beautiful. Beautiful.
Once I got into sales, I was like, I'm never going back.
Right. Because and you see other people, and you see, they don't have much drive or much determination. You say, well, why are you just satisfied with that, right?
Yeah.
You could have so much more if you put in some more effort, right? Put in more effort, you can make a whole lot more out of it.
Most definitely.
You really can. So I was attracted to an industry that rewarded you financially for hard work, and had a lot of upside. I mean, if you work your way up in the automobile business, you can do it really well financially. Working as a mechanic and then as a service advisor, and then so I worked at a store in Northern Virginia. It's a Porsche, Audi, BMW store in Crystal City. I worked for family Heichman. It was the name. Heichman, Porsche, Audi, BMW, and I was a service advisor there for about 7 years. The service manager moved on. They promoted me to be the service manager of the Porsche and Audi store, and I did that for about another 5 years until the Heichmans decided to retire. The father was the patriarch of the family. He was older, and he was getting a lot of pressure from the automobile manufacturers to upgrade his facilities, make a lot of upgrades financially. And I guess he just felt that it was the right time for him to sell it and bail out. So he sold it to the next guy, who then I continued working for, who was growing and expanding. He was a young guy who did well in the .com industry. He was about my age, actually, is about my age. I still stay in touch with him. And we kind of connected, and he promoted me along as he was growing and expanding what was a relatively small operation into multi-points, multi-locations, and I basically eventually ran all of his after sales or fixed operations, they call it. In other words, parts and service departments for all of his stores. And I did that for about the next 10 years. And along the way, always making more financially. The pay plan is that you get paid a percentage of what you produce, right? The more you produce, the bigger your paycheck is every month, right?
It's a good motivator.
Yeah, I mean,
it's always motivating.
I like toys, right?
Yeah,
I like cars.
toys.
And I like boats, and those are expensive toys,
Yes,
right? And I like to go to cool places, so vacations.
Exactly. We definitely
I
have that in common.
I like all those things, and there's only one way to get them is to stick your nose down, work hard, put your nose to the grindstone, and get it done. So, every day I go into work, it would be, I do the best job I can do. I treat the business as if I owned it myself.
Yeah.
I make the decisions always. Every decision I make is on what's best for this company, not what's best for me.
Yeah.
What's best for the company, the employees, and the customers. Right? They come first.
Did you at that time were you preparing like your goals, like thinking about stuff like that, or did it just happen organically, or were you kind of like, you know what, I'm gonna keep doing this, 'cause I'm gonna do this next, and I'm gonna do
A
next.
little of both, maybe.
Okay.
You know, I think at the beginning you're just trying to survive,
Mm-hmm.
right? And once you get to sort of Maslow's theory, I think, right, of hierarchy,
Mm-hmm.
of the pyramid, once you're past just surviving, keeping a roof over your head and keeping yourself and your family fed, and you start doing better than that, then it's some more materialistic things that you start desiring and you going after, and the more you see them and want them, the more you need to produce in order to have them.
Yeah.
So I was always just driven just to,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe the overall driving force is financial security for my kids, because after my first was born, then we had two more. So my wife and I eventually produced three sons,
Yeah.
just like my mother did. So I have three boys. Their age is now 34, 31, and 27. And they're all doing well. Two of them are married. The third one is still trying to figure that out. But, but they're all successful. They all got their heads screwed on straight, and they're doing a good job and being successful in their own
Well, they have a
rights.
good role model to look at too.
Yeah, from their mother as well. From their mother as well. But, yeah. So,
So when you make the transition from the Arlington store to here in Annapolis?
yeah, I'm not a job hopper. I've only worked at two places my entire career, basically. Post college, I don't count this stuff while you're in school. But post college, I've worked at two car dealerships. One in Northern Virginia for the Heisman family, and then for the second family that owned it. But then the second guy, he eventually ran into some issues, and he ended up selling the controlling interest to an automotive group that's local in the area here. And although they're good at making money in the car business, there's different ways to skin a cat.
Yeah.
Their way of doing business wasn't really the way I thought you should do business. They were more of they're good at it and successful and make money at it, but they do it at the expense of the employees, I felt.
Yeah.
They would just grind you every day, just grind you until you have nothing left to give, and they would discard you and replace you. And I could see the handwriting on the wall.
Yeah.
So after working at that place for three different ownership groups, I was there for 22 years. Commuting to Virginia from here, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's a
that's
hell of a commute.
that is
what
not a
that's
fun
like.
commute.
Through DC into Virginia and back every day.
Yeah.
And I'm in the store at 6:30 in the morning. I'm not getting home until 7, 8 o'clock at night sometimes.
There's always been traffic around the Washington D.C. area. It's like never ending. I think it's worse now than it was back then.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't realize at the time, but then when the third owner took over, and it was obvious to me that I wasn't a good fit for them, for what it's worth, I thought, I should probably start looking, because I don't want to be left with nothing, right? So the local BMW store here in Annapolis had a need for a service manager, and for me that was a kind of an easy gig coming from what I was doing to that. And a little bit of a financial setback, but minimal.
Closer to home too.
Closer to home. I could go home for lunch. I lived in Crofton then, right? I could drive. It was 15 minutes to get to work, and very much easier. So it gave me more time at home. I mean, the hard years and all the long hours in my when I was working in Virginia took a toll on my marriage itself. I ended up divorced by the time I was 36, I think. And my ex-wife is a great woman, a great mother. We grew it. We got together when we were 18 years old, right?
Exactly.
And by the time we were 36, we were two different people, right? What I wanted out of life and what she wanted out of life wasn't the same thing.
Exactly.
She's a wonderful woman. She's a great, great mother. I love her to death. But, our interests just weren't as in alignment anymore as they were when we were 18. So we decided to go our separate ways. I mean, it was hard, hard on me, hard on the kids. Now I'm a single father. With 50% shared custody of the kids, and I've got to figure out how I'm going to get these kids off to school and do all the things.
Yeah.
The kids were little then, right? My youngest was, 3, I think. My kids were 3, 6, and 9 when I got divorced. But managed to figure out a way.
Those are tough years too. I mean, I remember those years, raising, my three daughters, and we were working all the time, and my kids always say, Dad, why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? I'm like, you just can't be at two places at one time. You have to really pick those things, And I mean, that's something I would explain to, people that are trying to take their career to the next level. Sometimes you got to just put in the midnight oil. You got to put in the time,
Yeah.
and you have to, I hate to say it, but it's the truth. You have to sacrifice certain things.
Yeah.
It could be certain family things. You can't go to this, you can't go to that, but you get, it's a tricky balance is what I'm saying. So,
Yeah.
but I don't know if there's really a way around it where, I'm going to have this really super successful career and I'm have this awesome, personal life and family life. And, it's
24 hours in a day.
Maybe at sometimes you're having a really,
you got to sleep at least 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So I just think it's realistically, you have to choose which one you're going to take, So
I mean, there's no doubt I have some regrets about not being around enough for my kids
Sure.
as they were growing up. I'd mentioned these before. I missed a lot of the Cub Scouts and the Little Leagues and the school plays and all those things. Do I have regrets about it? Maybe to some degree. Would I do it different again? I don't know, because what I did do was give them financial security, right? That they were always secure, and they always will be secure, regardless of how their own life was panning out. And to me, it was my responsibility as their father to provide that.
Yeah.
I think it's irresponsible to bring children into the world and then without a plan of how you're going to provide for them, right?
And now you get to you've done some really cool things with your family.
Yeah,
you went on a cruise, and that's
and
awesome.
I'm fortunate enough, and so as a career, it came over, and I'm now working at Annapolis as a service manager. The general manager that was there was a transplant from Texas, and he wanted to go home. And long story short, he convinced me to step up and take the role as the general manager of the store. It was back in 2017, I think. So about seven or 8 years ago. I guess this August it'll be 8 years. And at first,
what did that feel? Yeah, tell me what that felt like.
I was reluctant because I was comfortable. It was the service part. I'd been doing it my entire life, right?
Yeah.
I was on autopilot, right? I had the place fixed, running smoothly. Things were going well. And as the manager, I was dealing with one-offs basically, right? As managing things, but it wasn't the heavy lifting of when I first got to Annapolis. The service department was broken. No doubt
you
about
had to
it,
fix
right?
that.
I had to fix it first. That takes a year or two, right?
Mm-hmm.
I terminated a lot of people and replaced them with other people until I got the team that I thought was right in there, and the place was humming like it should.
Let me ask you, did you have any formal training with management, or was this something that you learned on the job as you were moving along?
I mean, the car business isn't big on training in that regard.
Okay.
You kind of figure it out as you go, and I think the cream kind of rises to the top, right? So whoever is in charge recognizes from the people below him.
Did you study any of that just to,
not
get better
not more than what I had from the University of Maryland.
Got it. Okay.
Business classes. I understood the basics of economics and could read a financial statement and things like that. So I could, it's not rocket science.
Yeah.
Selling and fixing cars is a lot of moving pieces to it, but it's we're not putting men on the moon here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But it requires focus, dedication, and keeping your eye on the ball and not letting things slip through the cracks.
Like you said too, looking at the financial statements, that's the heartbeat of any business.
Sure.
If you can't get the finances down right, you're not going to have a business for very long.
Yeah, it wouldn't last long if you spend more money than you make.
Yeah.
So
or like if you're an employee working for somebody, and you're not, you're just like, I'm just going to put my minimum in, and eventually you're not going to have a job.
Right.
Your return is not going to be there. You're not going to get promoted. You're not going to get a raise.
Sure.
It's just that you have to that
It's just
mindset has to change.
Sure. My senior management team now, I'm preparing them to take over from me, right? I mean, like I said earlier, I'm 60 years old now. Again, started delivering newspapers when I was 10. I've never not had a full-time job since I was 10 years old. So, I'm not going to do this until I die because I've seen a lot of people who did that. And I do want to enjoy life now that I'm older and my children are all grown and out of the house. My current wife, my new wife, and I are completely in sync with each other. We don't do anything apart from each other outside of work. Whatever we plan is always planned together, and we incorporate her children and my children into our plans, and and we have a blended family, I guess is what we call it now.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but it works well. The kids all get along great, and it works well. But uh, going back to your point with where do you learn these things? So my management team that's under me, I keep them in the loop. I show them how the financial statement when it comes out every month, right? And we review it and we go over what their opportunities are in their departments, and when we see expenses creeping and we got to throttle them back a little bit, or we see opportunity that we've missed and we attack it. Let's get it this month and see if we can make progress on that. And so I'm preparing them to replace me at some point in
Yeah.
time, one of them, right?
How many employees do you have now?
It's a little over 90, so in round
Okay.
numbers about 100.
That's a
About 100
lot.
people work there.
Yeah, that's a
so
lot.
it's two dealerships, a BMW store and a mini store, both standalone, but they sit on the same campus. So and oversee the entire operation. Somewhere around 15 to 18 salespeople, around 30 technicians. We have a collision center, so there's the body shop, parts department, all have managers in them. Yeah,
You probably have a good team too.
I do.
Your executive team.
I do.
You need that.
It's my two highest ranking managers under me. One running the entire sales side of the organization, the other running everything in the service side of the organization, are very good. They're both young, and I've been grooming. And when I started there as a service manager, for instance, there was the guy who's now the service manager. He was, I don't know, 22 years old or something. He was a really young kid, right? And I came there as a service manager. I said, well, let me meet my shop foreman. Let me see who they are. And they introduced me to this guy, and he's like 22. And I'm thinking, where I come from, the shop foreman has to be able to fix anything that comes through that door, right? The really hard car, right? It's got this weird electrical problem where the check engine light's on. It's been in 4 times, and nobody can fix this car. It's been to 3 car dealerships, and everybody struggled with it, and we don't know what to do with it, right? I said, my shop foreman has to be the guy that can fix that car, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking, at 22 years old, it's unlikely you have the experience to be able to fix that car. He never let me down.
Really?
Just an outstanding, technically just very, very strong.
Just like a wizard at
He
it,
could
right?
fix anything. And humble.
Oh,
Just,
that's
he's not proud of it, right? He doesn't boast about it. I'll give you an example of him. So when I came to work from the store in Virginia, I had some people that wanted to follow me over, right? Some mechanics.
Yeah.
So one mechanic that followed me over was an older guy, been doing it for a long time, and he was fantastic. I mean, this guy could just fix cars like crazy. He was really, really good, very productive, made a lot of money for the shop and for himself. And so when I introduced him to the new shop, when I brought him over, and after I started there about a month later, some people are a little weary of him. Oh, the new guy's bringing in his own people or whatever. But it didn't take long for them to realize that this guy was just a quality person, a quality technician, and they all learned a lot from him because he had been doing it for so long, and they learned all his little tricks of how he's able to be efficient with his time. When he would work on a car and he has 5 or 6 different things to do to it, he would never raise that car up in the air and back down more than one time because you're standing there not doing anything when that car is going up and down, right? It takes, 30 seconds for the car to go up and 30 seconds to come down. You wasted a minute, right? He would look at everything that needs to be done to this car, and he would set the lift under it. He would raise it up to a certain level, let's say where you take the wheels and do the brakes and stuff like that, and he would do all of that work. Then the car would go all the way up in the air where he would drain the oil and drain the transmission fluid and do the brake fluid flush and all that type of stuff. And then it would go down, and he would do the things that needed going down. So the guy was very, very time efficient, and that's what makes him money, right?
Yeah.
He's good at it. So the younger guys learned a lot from him. But there was a car that came in one time that had some strange electrical problem, and this guy got it, and he's good, right? So this car kicked his butt. He worked on this car for a solid day and a half and didn't make any progress, could not figure out what was wrong with this car. So in the way it works in the car business, when the mechanic gets stuck like that, then he goes to the shop foreman and said, here's my problem, here's the complaint, here's what it does or doesn't do, and here's everything I've checked so far. I'm at a loss. I don't know what to do now. So the shop foreman, this young guy,
goes to the 22-year-old.
He goes to the 22-year-old, and I'm thinking, oh, brother, how's this going to work out? And the 22-year-old says, just go park it over on my lift, and I've got some other things I'm doing, but I'll make some time for it, and I'll get to it later today or whatever. So the car, and the other guy goes off and does his other things, right? So the car ended up sitting on this guy's this shop foreman's lift for a day and a half or 2 days, right? And eventually he buttons it up and he's rolling out. So the mechanic that couldn't figure it out said, "Hey, what'd you find wrong with that car?" Because he wants to know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And, what did you find that I couldn't find? And he played it off like, there was just something. The reality was he fixed that car in about 2 hours, but he didn't let anybody else know that he fixed that car that quickly, because he didn't want it to make the other guy look bad, right? So he let that car sit there for another day and a half, and he'd go and tinker with it a little bit. He'd already had it fixed, right?
Really?
He'd go over and he'd tinker around with it a little bit like he was still working on it, to not humiliate the old veteran.
He had a lot of wisdom at his age.
Yeah.
I mean, just to have that respect.
Yes.
Yes.
And he's now the service manager. When I became the general manager, I promoted him into the service manager role. Wow. And he's doing a fantastic job.
That's freaking awesome.
So I'm fortunate to have people like that, and it makes my life easy.
Yeah. Let me look at my notes here for a second. Right. But I wanted to ask, here's a question. Well, I probably ain't going to answer it. I said, what kept you motivated all these years? But I'm sure the commission that really motivates people, and at least it does for me. But I'm sure that's probably what motivated you.
Yeah, I mean, again, good work ethic, and a lot of times you're doing something for a long period of time, and you feel like you're putting in extra effort more than the people around you are putting in, and you don't feel like you're getting recognized or rewarded for it, and it can become frustrating.
Yeah.
And I know I experienced periods of time like that.
Yeah.
Whatever position it was along the road, there were periods of time where I felt like, I'm the guy doing all this extra. I'm first one in, last one out. I'm putting in all this effort, and I don't get rewarded any more than anybody else does in some aspects, right? But if you just keep doing it, eventually it all comes full circle and it works out for you. Yeah. I'm telling you. Yeah. If you're feeling frustrated like that, just take a deep breath, keep doing what you're doing, and eventually you'll get your reward for hard work and dedication.
Yeah, that ran into my other question, like what kind of advice would you give my audience that, are, young 30s, maybe in 40s, they want to take their career to the next level.
Sure.
And, what would you say to them?
Go into work every day, do the best job you can do so that you satisfy yourself. I don't worry about satisfying my employers or the people above me in the food chain. I worry about satisfying myself, because I think if I satisfy myself, I'm definitely going to satisfy them, right? And you do that every single day, and eventually you will rise to the top of the pile. Just, I don't think I'm the smartest guy out there, but I'll outwork you.
Yeah.
I'm the hardest working guy out there. So, and more dedicated. So
yeah,
that's what it takes.
Well, Steve, I appreciate this, man. I appreciate your time, coming on the podcast here and just talking about business and, our stories of how we get here. You know what I mean? That's what it's all going to be about. It's just going to be about stories of how we did it, and just want to thank you. And
congratulations to you and Yvonne, obviously getting it done as well. So
yeah,
I mean, your printing business and now doing the podcast stuff. That's impressive. I had
Yeah.
no idea you were doing this on the side. I just thought you ran a printing company.
Yeah.
Look at
So,
you,
no,
branching into all kinds of
I'm
things.
trying, thinking of, the next chapter we got going on. So.
Yeah, I'm thinking that way too now, finally.
Yeah.
So, this career in the car business, it's going to have run its course at some point in time, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do this forever. So
yeah, exactly.
sometime in the next 2-3 years or so, I'll probably hang my hat up from it.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward or excited about doing something completely different, right?
Yeah,
We're going to go in a completely different direction. I'm going to do something that I enjoy doing, not driven financially morally, but more just by what it is
the
that I
pleasure in
enjoy.
life. What do you get out of
Sure,
it? Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
Something that's more flexible, time-wise, so I can spend time with my one grandchild now, hopefully more coming, and I can do what I want, when I want, if I want.
Exactly.
Without the financial handcuffs being on me.
Yeah. I like that plan.
Yeah.
That's what we're shooting for, right, Yvonne? But anyways, I just want to do a shout out for you. If anybody is looking for a used car, new car, look up Steve. I'll put his contact information in the link below.
Be happy to take care of you.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it, Jim.
The man.
Yvonne, thank you.